Hello everyone, welcome to my channel. Please subscribe and keep watching more details. Real reason Julie Chrisley did not want to appear for resentencing. A federal judge recently ruled that Julie Chrisley would have to appear in person for her resentencing hearing next month. The Chrisley Knows Best star wanted to appear remotely for the resentencing, but her request was denied. Here are the reasons Julie didn't want to have to appear in court. Julie Chrisley's request to appear remotely denied by judge. Julie Chrisley's lawyer suggested that appearing in person for the upcoming resentencing would cause her undue physical harm. She will have to travel a long way and be shackled for hours to get to court. Currently, Julie is being held at FMC Lexington in Kentucky. She will have to travel to Atlanta for the court hearing. The star's lawyer said that officials likely would transfer Julie via the transfer facility in Oklahoma City or place her in a van for a lengthy, multiple-hour trip while shackled to facilitate her appearance in court. On top of that, her lawyer said, either option would remove Ms. Chrisley from FMC Lexington for an unnecessarily extended period of time and impose undue physical hardship on her. Prosecutors did not oppose Julie's request. However, the Chrisley Knows Best star's request to appear via videoconference was denied by the judge. Judge Eleanor L. Ross ordered law enforcement to bring Julie Chrisley to court. You are hereby commanded to have the body of Julie Chrisley by you restrained of her liberty, as it is said, by whatsoever names detained before the Honorable Eleanor L. Ross, United States District Judge of the United States District Court for the Northern District of Georgia, the order read. It continued, stating that Julie would need to be present in the courtroom in the city of Atlanta at 10 a.m. Eastern Standard Time on September 25. She will have to attend court each day until the resentencing is complete. Thence to be returned to the custody from which she came, and have you this writ, the order concluded. Savannah Chrisley holding out hope Julie will be home for holidays. Todd and Julie Chrisley were found guilty of tax evasion and bank fraud in 2022. Julie was sentenced to 7 years initially, and Todd was sentenced to 12. Last September, their sentences were reduced to 6 and 10 years. The couple immediately started the appeals process following their guilty verdicts. Ultimately, the United States Court of Appeals upheld their convictions, but it was ruled that there wasn't enough evidence to hold Julie Chrisley responsible for the crimes that occurred before 2007. This led to the court ordering Julie to be resentenced. Fans have weighed in on what a resentencing might look like for Julie. Her daughter, Savannah Chrisley, is hopeful that her mom will be home in time for the holidays. Many fans think she is being delusional, but it isn't outside of the realm of possibilities. Julie Chrisley, the matriarch of the Chrisley family, had built a reputation over the years for being composed, resilient, and a loving figure to her children, even in the face of adversity. But when it came to the looming resentencing in her highly publicized legal battle, something far deeper than the fear of imprisonment held her back. The truth behind her decision not to appear for resentencing is a complex blend of personal struggles, family dynamics, and emotional trauma that transcended the courtroom drama portrayed on TV. Julie had always maintained an image of strength, but behind that public facade was a woman deeply wounded by the events that had unfolded in the past few years. The trial itself had been excruciating. It wasn't just the accusations of fraud and financial misconduct. It was the way the media dissected her family's life, exposing vulnerabilities she had tried to shield from the world. Her role as a mother and wife had always been at the forefront of her identity, and with her and Todd's conviction, that identity began to unravel. The weight of letting her family down, especially her children, became unbearable. Todd, her husband, had always been a dominant personality in their relationship. Together, they projected the perfect Southern family, but Julie knew better than anyone that their empire was built on shaky ground. Behind closed doors, their dynamic shifted, and Todd's overpowering presence left little room for her voice. In many ways, she had been complicit in decisions made on his behalf, but now, staring down the consequences, Julie found herself alone with her thoughts. Resentencing meant reliving that nightmare, but it also meant Todd would expect her to be strong, unwavering in the face of their collective punishment. The thought of having to shoulder that responsibility yet again was exhausting. But it wasn't just about Todd or the fear of more prison time. Julie had begun to feel a sense of profound shame, not just for the actions that led to their conviction, but for the realization that her entire life had been a series of decisions aimed at protecting an image. An image that, in hindsight, no longer mattered. The Chrisley brand of wealth, luxury, and southern charm had become a prison of its own, and now Julie was grappling with the idea that she had sold herself short. She had willingly bought into the illusion, but as the glitter faded, she was left to confront her true self, without the facade. Her children had been her biggest source of guilt. Savannah, Chase, Grayson, and Chloe had always looked up to her, not just as their mother, but as their protector. Now their lives were in disarray, and while Todd's bravado allowed him to continue navigating their crisis with confidence, Julie felt emotionally paralyzed. She couldn't bear to face them with more bad news. The thought of standing before a judge, awaiting another round of sentencing, felt like a betrayal to the one role she cherished most, that of being their rock. She didn't want to be seen as weak, but the reality was that Julie felt shattered, and facing the world in that state was a burden she wasn't prepared to bear. Perhaps the most significant reason Julie did not want to appear for resentencing was her deep-seated fear of what she had become. In the months leading up to the sentencing, she had begun to reflect on her life choices in a way she never had before. For years she had been the calm, collected figure beside Todd's more flamboyant persona, but this introspection brought her face to face with her complicity, not just in the financial schemes but in perpetuating a lifestyle she knew wasn't sustainable. The truth was that Julie had allowed herself to become a bystander in her own life, content to let Todd take the reins as long as it kept their image intact. Now that image was shattered, and with it, the carefully constructed version of herself she had clung to for so long. The idea of going through another court proceeding filled her with dread. She had grown weary of the legal jargon, the media circus, and the judgmental stares from the public. More than that, she had grown tired of being judged, not just by the court, but by everyone around her. The shame she felt went beyond the courtroom. It was a deeply personal shame, one that stemmed from the realization that she had lost sight of her values. She didn't want to stand in front of the judge and once again plead for leniency, not because she didn't want to take responsibility for her actions, but because she no longer knew what she was fighting for. Julie had also begun to question the entire legal system. She felt like a pawn in a much larger game, one where her fate was no longer in her control. The resentencing felt like another chapter in a book she didn't want to read. She knew that regardless of the outcome, her life would never be the same. Her family's name had been tarnished, their legacy forever linked to scandal. Even if the sentence were reduced, it wouldn't change the fact that the damage had been done. And so the idea of going through that process once more felt pointless to her. She didn't want to prolong the inevitable, nor did she want to be a spectacle any longer. In the end, Julie Chrisley's decision not to appear for resentencing was rooted in a profound sense of disillusionment. She had spent years constructing a life that was more about appearances than reality, and now that the curtain had been pulled back, she wasn't sure who she was without the illusion. Facing the judge meant facing herself, and that was a battle she wasn't ready to fight. For Julie, the courtroom was no longer just about legal consequences. It was about confronting the person she had become, and in that moment she wasn't prepared for the answers she might find.